Welcome back to Park and Post. Today, we'll be diving into a subject that's both fascinating and critically important: how to survive a plane crash. While air travel is remarkably safe, and the odds are hugely in your favor, knowing what to do in the unlikely event of an emergency can make all the difference. From the secrets of choosing the right seat to the life-saving tips that have helped real people in real emergencies, we've got you covered with 20 essential survival strategies and tips for surviving a plane crash. So, fasten your seatbelts and let's embark on this journey of knowledge and empowerment. Number 1. Pay attention to safety briefings. Before takeoff, it's crucial to pay attention to the safety briefings conducted by the flight attendants. This information is designed to prepare passengers for an emergency. For example, in the Hudson River incident, U.S. Airways Flight 1549, passengers who listened to safety instructions were able to quickly evacuate the aircraft after it made an emergency landing on water. Similarly, during British Airways Flight 5390, where the cockpit window blew out, passengers who were aware of safety procedures remained calm, aiding in their survival. Number 2. Dress appropriately for flight. Wearing appropriate clothing can significantly increase your chances of survival. Clothes should be made of natural fibers like cotton, which are less likely to melt or catch fire compared to synthetics. For instance, in the miraculous survival story of the Uruguayan rugby team's plane crash in the Andes in 1972, those dressed in layers survived in the freezing conditions. Additionally, passengers of Emirates Flight 521 who wore sturdy shoes could safely navigate through debris during evacuation. Number 3. Keep your seatbelt fastened. Keeping your seatbelt fastened during the entire flight can prevent injuries during turbulence or a crash. In the case of Qantas Flight 32, passengers who had their seatbelts fastened avoided being thrown around when the engine exploded. Similarly, during Aeroflot Flight 593, those with seatbelts on survived the crash landing by staying in their seats. Number 4. Choose your seat wisely. Statistics show that seats near the rear of the plane have a higher survival rate. In the crash of American Airlines Flight 1420, survivors were predominantly seated at the back. Likewise, in the Tenerife airport disaster, passengers near the rear exits had more chances to escape. Number 5. Brace for impact. Knowing the proper brace position can significantly reduce the risk of injury. The brace position protects vital parts of your body. During the crash of Asiana Airlines Flight 214, passengers who adopted the brace position had fewer head and neck injuries. In the case of Turkish Airlines Flight 981, those who braced correctly survived the impact. Number 6. Count rows to the nearest exit. Upon boarding, count the number of rows to the nearest exit. This can be a lifesaver in a smoke-filled cabin where visibility is low. Survivors of the Manchester airport disaster in 1985 credited their counting of rows for finding the exits in blinding smoke. Passengers of Air France Flight 358 also used this method to quickly locate exits when the plane overshot the runway and caught fire. Number 7. Follow crew instructions. Flight crew members are trained for emergencies. Following their instructions increases survival odds. In Delta Airlines Flight 1086, where the plane skidded off a snowy runway, following crew directives facilitated a successful evacuation. Similarly, in U.S. Airways Flight 405, survivors attributed their escape to adhering to crew instructions. Number 8. Stay low in smoke. In a fire, smoke inhalation is a leading cause of death. Staying low helps avoid toxic fumes. During the Saudi Arabian Airlines Flight 163 incident, those who stayed low had a better chance of avoiding smoke inhalation. In the Swissair Flight 111 tragedy, survivors reported staying low to breathe cleaner air. Number 9. Use oxygen masks promptly. If the cabin loses pressure, oxygen masks will drop. Put yours on immediately. Passengers of Aloha Airlines, Flight 243, here a large section of the cabin roof tore off, survived thanks to quick use of oxygen masks. In the case of Helios Airways Flight 522, those who managed to use oxygen masks stayed conscious longer. Number 10. Keep calm and think clearly. Staying calm is essential for making rational decisions. This is because panicking can cloud your judgment. In the Air France Flight 447 disaster, passengers who remained calm were better able to follow safety procedures. Similarly, during the miracle on the Hudson, calm passengers contributed to an orderly evacuation. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe and click the bell to be notified of our latest travel tips and share this information with your friends and family. But let's get back to the topic. Tips for surviving a plane crash. Number 11. Practice mental preparedness. Mentally rehearsing what to do in an emergency can improve reaction time. Visualizing the steps can help you act swiftly and decisively. In the crash of United Airlines Flight 232, passengers who had mentally prepared for an emergency were more composed and efficient during evacuation. Likewise, in the crash of Delta Airlines Flight 191, mental preparedness helped survivors act quickly. Number 12. Avoid overhead luggage during evacuation. In an evacuation, time is of the essence. Avoiding overhead luggage speeds up the process and prevents aisle blockages. Survivors of American Airlines Flight 383 reported that ignoring their overhead luggage allowed for a faster exit. In the evacuation of Air Canada Flight 797, passengers who didn't attempt to retrieve luggage were able to escape the smoke and flames quicker. Number 13. Jump correctly on escape slides. Proper technique when using escape slides can prevent injuries. Sit at the edge, push off, and keep your arms and legs in. Passengers of British Airways Flight 2276 who used this technique avoided injuries on the slides. In the evacuation of Emirates Flight 521, correct use of slides resulted in fewer injuries among evacuees. Number 14. Know how to open an emergency exit. Familiarize yourself with the operation of emergency exits. This knowledge can be vital in a crisis. During the evacuation of Lion Air Flight 538, the passengers who knew how to operate the exits helped speed up the evacuation. In the crash of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961, those familiar with exit operations were instrumental in getting people out. Number 15. Stay away from fire and smoke. Identifying fire and smoke sources and moving away from them increases survival chances. In the South African Airways Flight 295 disaster, survivors moved away from smoke-filled areas. Similarly, in the ValueJet Flight 592 tragedy, avoiding areas with fire and smoke was key to survival. Number 16. Don't inflate life jackets inside the plane. If water landing is imminent, don't inflate your life jacket inside the cabin. It can impede movement and evacuation. Passengers of U.S. Airways Flight 1549 who waited to inflate their life jackets outside the plane were able to evacuate more efficiently. In the crashing of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961, those who inflated life jackets outside avoided being trapped. Number 17. Use available resources. Utilize any resources available to you, such as seat cushions for flotation. During the crash of Tunenter Flight 1153, using seat cushions as flotation devices was a lifesaver. During the crash of Air France Flight 447, improvised flotation devices aided in survival. Number 18. Be aware of hypothermia in water. If in cold water, be aware of hypothermia. Try to keep as much of your body out of the water as possible. Survivors of the Air Florida Flight 90 crash into the Potomac River staved off hypothermia by keeping out of the water as much as possible. When Aloha Airlines Flight 243 crashed, awareness of hypothermia risks was key to survival. Number 19. Seek immediate medical attention. Even if you feel fine, seek medical attention after a crash. Internal injuries or shock may not be immediately apparent. Passengers of American Airlines Flight 587 received prompt medical attention, which was crucial for those with internal injuries. Similarly, survivors of Asiana Airlines Flight 214 were treated for shock and unseen injuries. Number 20. Cooperate with rescue personnel. Once rescue personnel arrive, cooperate fully with them. They are trained for such situations and can guide you to safety. In the rescue of Thai Airways Flight 311, cooperation with rescuers was vital for the survivors. During the aftermath of Pan Am Flight 759, working with rescue teams facilitated a more efficient evacuation and medical response. Well, we've covered a ton of ground on how to cheat death if your aircraft fails and falls. While I hope none of us ever need to use this information, at least now you've got an action plan rooted in documented past successes should the unthinkable happen. Review the steps, prepare those around you when traveling, and continue to spread the word by liking and sharing this video. Of course, no one wants to envision themselves in a crash, but brave and past survivors have given us all these life-saving information. The least we can do is help keep them circulating. Also, let me know in the comments any other tips that could be added so we keep this list growing. That's all for now. Until next time, remember to keep the odds ever stacked in your favor. Safe travels. We'll catch you in the next video.